with the camera. Camera quality. Maybe it's because it's dark. It's very dark today. Hello, can't hear you, Helen.
Hello.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Okay, I'm looking at someone.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Helen, are there supposed to be 5 people?
Hello. No, there's supposed to be more people.
More people, yeah. It's that, should I pay attention to the new participants or are they all here? Because I can forget to press admit. That's why I'm asking. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you see me well? Very good.
There should be at least 2 more people.
2 more people, right? Okay, so I'll be paying attention because I need to allow them to enter. Okay, I'll turn this. So, welcome everybody to our practical part of the seminar devoted to presenting the target language. How many people were present at the last one, at the last seminar?
I was present.
Two people, right?
Me too.
3 people so far, right? Julia wasn't present, and Tarasola. Ola. It says Tarasola. I'm looking at it.
I don't know why it's showing that name.
Okay. Well, so those who were present and those who maybe have seen the like the video, let's remember briefly when we present the language. What information do you need to present? I'll remind you, there are 4 things you need to present. Let's remember.
Abbreviation FUMP.
Exactly. Okay, so FUMP. F, what does it stand for?
Form.
U, what does it stand for?
Use.
Then M.
Meaning.
Meaning, and P?
Pronunciation.
Does it relate to words only?
No, to grammar as well.
Words, grammar, any target language.
Functions.
Phrases, functional language, anything. You need to FUMP the language. 4 components. And let's remember the logical order. Like in a lesson, when you're presenting, what's the logical order? Or like a couple of variations, maybe.
It can be different.
But for example, is this a good idea to start with pronunciation?
No, meaningful pronunciation usually is used.
Yeah, meaningful pronunciation, and finally,
use.
Okay, don't forget about use. Use is, well, sometimes it's just neutral, so you don't comment on it. But at least as a teacher, you need to be aware of it, whether it's important to specify anything or not. So you as a teacher definitely pay attention to it. And you highlight it for the students or not. Maybe it's of general use. Okay. Let's remember some aspects for each. So form. What components can there be in presenting a form? When we present a form, we may speak about.
If it is grammar, so it's the structure can be of the sentence.
Okay. So structure and like how the words change. Okay. If it's a word.
Is
number of syllables, maybe.
No, it's like, so if there is something special about the word, so we can present the form of it. But some words are just easy, so sometimes we can.
I could
I mean, the form, or we can also discuss some, for example, where we can use this word, for example, or pronouns which can be used with this word. Sorry, prepositions.
Prepositions, yes, because I'm listening and I thought I couldn't hear well, but
No, preposition.
Yeah, okay. For example, yes, prepositions are a part of a form. What else is a part of a form?
Maybe the ending of the word, the suffix.
Suffixes, prefixes, okay. What else?
Some spelling stuff.
Spelling, of course, yes. And also? And also what part of speech this is. And if it's grammar, it's like...
yeah, if it is verb, so it's regular or irregular verb, countable, unaccountable noun.
Yes. So if you say noun, then you have some details about what kind of noun, right? If it's a phrasal verb, then you know that there's a verb and a preposition, and then like separable, inseparable, like, and all the necessary details. Okay, so this is about FUMF. Okay, then at the last seminar we were talking about how we normally present target language, and what's the teacher's role here? What does the teacher do?
To ask the right questions.
That's right. I like the word ask and I like the word question. Exactly. CCQs. Does anybody remember what CCQ means?
Conception checking question.
Concept check questions, yes. Okay, so Julia remembers this all very well. Thank you.
I wasn't present.
Yeah, but I remember that you know this all. Okay, so let's remember together what characteristics of such questions can there be. What should they be like? They can be special, but it's not like the most important characteristic of them. They can be special or general. They can be alternative questions when needed. There's something more important about it. Anybody?
To answer for students.
They shouldn't contain target language.
Shouldn't contain target language. And I heard Helen. What did you say? Like this video?
There is some problem with my sound. Is there any problem with my sound?
Yes, it's a little bit like...
You are like in a distance, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, just maybe speak a little louder, and that's it. So you said, Julia said that this shouldn't contain the target language. And Helen, what did you say?
I said that the questions should be possible for students to answer. They should be easy enough so they could answer them.
Easy, yes. And this easy, what does it depend on? How easy the question should be? What does it depend on?
On the level.
Sure, level. So when you prepare them,
and sometimes there is an answer in this question, so there can be some alternative questions in which the teacher suggests the correct answer to his question. So
it's very important.
Yes.
So like you can ask a special question like what is it, how does it work?
Yes.
And
if
you see a difficulty, you can suggest option. Let's go back to the level, and if you're asking this question, should the question be the same level as your students have, or like higher level or lower level than the students currently have?
What do you mean? Information that they contain, or
the questions? The structure of the questions, the vocabulary in your question. Should it be the same level, higher level, or lower level than the student has?
Maybe the same level.
Same level, maybe lower if it's necessary. But same.
Better lower because we highlight the word easy here, right? So lower, maximum the same, definitely not higher. Make sure that the students will be able to understand it. This is very important. Okay. Okay. Short, simple, not contain target language, contain options, and the right answer. I have one more word here. What if you ask your students about the weather while you are presenting the target language? Is that okay?
No, they should be relevant, of course.
Yes.
Up to the point.
And not just relevant, but leading.
Yeah.
Not just a question because I want to ask you, but only leading to the final picture you want your students to do.
Like a flow chart, yeah?
Oh, yeah, probably.
One from another.
Picture.
You have to scaffold our students.
You have to what?
Scaffold our students to dance.
Yeah, scaffold. And create this scaffolding for them. What does this mean? Does anybody know? Scaffolding. Julia,
it's almost the same that to help students. It's like a kind of ladder to help students to understand.
Remember when there is this building restoration, there are different ladders and levels constructed outside the building. This is called scaffolding. And you build the scaffolding for your students so that they could climb the understanding.
It's like a support system, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Something to help them climb. All right. This is everything I wanted to remember together with you. Yeah, like revise. And now I want some volunteers. Just tell me right now, is everybody ready with the presentation, like to show us to demonstrate?
Unfortunately, I'm not because I thought it would be just a brand new topic of the seminar. I'm sorry, but I can participate as a student, whatever.
Sure. Okay, I'm asking to be able to understand who's ready, who's not, and how I can use you today. Use her. Okay, so Olga. Yes, this is Olga.
Yes.
And I'm not ready as well because, like, I knew about it yesterday morning.
You only found out today in the morning, right? Okay, so we'll use you as a participant then, as a student. Helen, are you ready?
Yes, sure.
Maria, ready? Maria, are you ready? Yes, okay. And Ola?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 people. I think 3 people will be enough. I wanted some competition, but okay, no competition. Everybody will have the right to present, to try. So, who wants to be the first? Who wants to risk? Nobody? Okay, I'll choose them. And it will be Maria. Okay? Maria, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
So
yes,
you will
I can hear you, but unfortunately, yes, my internet is a little bit slow, actually. Yes, I am figuring it out, and I hope that on Friday I will change my internet provider and I will have a little bit better connection, because really it's awful right now. So I will share my screen with you, right?
Just a second. So you will be the first. Now we need a student for you. First, let's use Julia and Olga. Who wants to be Maria's student now?
As you wish, you should choose.
Olga started, so you will be the student. Maria, you are the teacher. Olga, you are the student. What's the level, Maria?
Well, level is like pre-intermediate, something between pre-intermediate, intermediate level. So it's more like, I would say, upper pre-intermediate level. Because, yes, intermediate. Let's say,
Good,
yeah.
good. So this is the level. Just a second. That's not all. I need to set the task for all the other people. So, Maria, you will be working with Olga as if she were your student. Olga, you need to pretend to be the student, and Maria, you ask your questions and you analyze. Are they efficient? Is it easy or difficult for the student to follow and answer them? And does it build the picture? Olga, being a student, you do the same. Are the questions clear to you? Is it easy to understand what the teacher wants you to say and what the teacher wants you to understand?
Okay.
All the other people, apart from doing the same, yes, imagining that you are the student, you can like immediately write your version of this question or of this presentation. Because later we're going to discuss it and see if we can change something or need to change something. Is the task clear?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, I'll be taking notes too. Yes, yes.
And I wanted just to clarify, because I was preparing some grammar
Yes,
tasks.
okay.
Yes, I was preparing the difference between
Don't tell us.
present perfect. Okay.
It's a secret. Your student will discover.
Yes, yes. Okay, because it is mentioned at the very beginning, and it's like the topic of my today's lesson. So
Okay.
my student Olga.
So,
okay, so I will share my screen with everybody. Okay, so here it is. Okay. Is it clear? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, Olga. So our first task for today will be this. Let's read the task first of all, okay?
So read the sentences and underline the examples of the past simple and present perfect.
Okay, so let's pretend that you already know something about past simple and you already know something about present perfect. You have some idea of these both tenses because you're already a pre-intermediate student. So let's read this sentence, and the first half we can guess the answers, and then we will try to focus on these tenses, present perfect and past simple. So let's read the first sentence.
Hollywood has always used in its films.
Yes, so it can be something, I don't know, what is your variant of answer?
So should I guess something, yeah?
Yes, you can guess, and after that we will listen and we will check your answers. It can be something, I mean, in these films, what can
Hollywood has always used special effects, maybe.
Special effects. Okay, yeah. So you can write down special effects, and after that, and we will check your variants. Special effects. Okay. So Hollywood has always used. Tell me, please, Olga, what tense is here?
What tense?
Yes.
So I think it's present perfect.
Yes, because we have has. Yes, the auxiliary plus used. Yes. Okay, the second sentence, please.
Okay, Hollywood began making films in the. Okay.
It should be like 60s, 80s. What age? How do you think? What time?
Okay, the time, right?
Yes, right.
In the 20s, maybe.
20s, okay. Number 3.
What about the construction?
Yes, sorry, about the construction, yes. I forgot. Hollywood began.
I'm a very meticulous student.
Yes, you're a perfect student.
Thanks. So, began is maybe past simple.
Yes, yes, it's like the second form. Begin, began, begun. Very good, yes. Okay, and next sentence, please.
Some of the best films in recent years have been based on. Okay. So, no, okay. Do I need to use two words or one? Is it possible?
I think the best is to use two words, but if you have no variants, you can use just one word.
Okay. No, I think it will be true events, maybe.
True events, okay. Yes, true events.
Just a second. Because we don't have like 3 hours or something, let's wrap it up. I understand that you're going to go through all of the sentences, try to complete them, and then to look at the form, right?
Yes.
What will happen next?
Then we will check our answers, because I am sure that as my student, Olga will be eager to know this correct answer. So we will listen and check. We will compare, because I have noticed all the answers. We will compare was she right or wrong. And then after that, where she has found these in the first present perfect, past simple.
And then, so, and then the presentation starts. Okay, let's move on to this.
Yes, so we should read the grammar rules. So there's difference between present perfect and past simple. So let's read the first examples. Number 1 from present perfect and number 1 from past simple. Okay, in this table.
Okay. So number 1 is unfinished past actions. We have been here for 6 hours.
So unfinished. And when do we use past simple?
Finished past actions. We were in the library.
Yes. Okay, and 2 other.
Okay, past action with the present result. I haven't eaten, I'm hungry.
So we focus on the result here. And in the past simple?
Past action, I didn't have dinner.
Yes, so we just focus on the action. And the third point?
Indefinite time, I've met the president. And definite time, I met the president 2 days ago.
Yes, so these are like 3 basic differences between the present perfect and past simple. So let's try to remember them. And right now, let's look at the timeline, because actually I like to show to my students this timeline, because it's very, very important. So you see, Olga, so when we have this present perfect, it's like not finished. So it started sometime in the past and it is still going on until now. So let's read this explanation here.
The present perfect shows a relation between past time and present time.
Yes, and in the past simple, the situation is completely different. So let's read here
the past simple talks about actions and events in the past that are now finished.
Okay. Yes, so on this point, I hope that my students understand everything. So that, then I make them complete the rules for the present perfect or past simple. So the rule number 1, use the, and let's read, and then we will think which tense we should put here, present perfect or the past simple.
Okay. Use the to talk about experiences or things that happened before now. The time is not specified or important. Okay.
So when time is not important.
When time is not important. Okay. No, should I look at this previous scheme? Should I?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can if you want. I can show you it once again. Where actually you were supposed to write down, to make some notes on the scheme, just to remember it. And then, yes, you have to
okay.
Okay, and then the students complete these rules. Yes. And
yes,
I'm sure
his
all
or her
can
memory. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, perfect student, so yes. And then my student is supposed to complete the sentences with the present perfect or past simple according to all the rules which were given. And then
okay, so just a second.
Can we do this?
No, because it's already the practice stage. Okay, this is practice. So the presentation is finished, as far as I understand, when Olga completed the rules with the right name of the tense. All right. Let me look at my set of questions. The teacher, you finished the presentation and your student is now practicing. Did all the questions, did the procedure go well? What do you think, Maria?
Are you asking?
Yes, the teacher, yes. First, you tell us what you think. With Olga right now, did it go well?
With Olga right now, it is all like it was planned, because Olga is a nice student, so that's why she answers all the questions and she's attentive, because sometimes students don't listen or they say just, I don't understand the difference. So that's why sometimes for some students it's a little bit difficult for me to explain the difference between present. That's why I write them, I paint them these timelines and everything. I try to explain.
Okay, good. But we're talking. Look, we're talking about what happened today, right? Okay. And now, so are you satisfied with the way it went today, Maria? Maria,
in
sorry.
general,
Yes.
In general, yes.
Okay. Well, Olga, how about you? Did it go well for you? Was everything clear?
What can I say about Maria's role? I think her instructions were quite clear. I imagined, I remembered some of my students of that level, and I think that yes, if a student has a previous knowledge of these two constructions, it's okay. It won't be too difficult. But also, probably, I remember that my students, they are not really eager to ask questions. No, most of them, I would say. So maybe it will be better for a teacher to ask more questions, maybe. Because it's not only about instructions, but also about questions. But everything is okay. I saw the thumb here, like in Maria's presentation. She began from the form. For me to differentiate between present perfect and past simple, then use, that we use these forms in the sentences, then meaning, the rules, and then pronunciation is not the case, but still then the practice. Like
what do you mean? Just a second. What do you mean it's not the case? What do you mean by that?
No, I think that pronunciation here, we are not talking about pronunciation in grammar. Here,
we do.
Everything was clear.
We do speak about pronunciation when we train grammar. Absolutely. FUMP is for all types of target language. What kind of this question is to everybody? What kind of pronunciation do we train? Do we work with when we speak about grammar? What kind of pronunciation is it?
Maybe to speak about this grammar, pronunciation of third form of the verb and second
For
form
example,
of the verb.
okay. What else? What else?
Maybe contracted forms, if there are any.
Very important.
Yeah.
Negative.
Okay.
And,
Negative.
And also these contractions, and especially with have, when they say not have, like have, so they link it together.
Okay, what else? Something which I student of ed, yes, okay, this one may be important. And what
can
what
be
else?
intrusions while speaking.
Sentence rhythm.
Exactly. First of all, yes, all these details which you've mentioned, yes, like ed, have, negative, contractions, aren't they contractions?
What?
Contractions.
Negative can be contractions, can be not.
Okay, yes. So, one of the most important things is sentence rhythm. The student has to be able to pronounce the sentences naturally with natural intonation, and so you need to train them to train the sentences, some model sentences. All right, and show the rhythm. And this was not present here. Now I understand that it's because people don't realize the necessity of this. But it is necessary and it should be included. Okay, well, these are comments from Maria and Olga, and now I want to hear some comments from the others. How did it go? Would it be good for you if you were the students? And what and how would you change?
May I start?
Yeah,
I would change a little bit the structure of presentation. So
okay,
I like the presentation in sentences, but when we work with sentences for the first time, I wouldn't pay attention to their structure. I would just discuss meaning if it was necessary. Yes, we were talking about films. And only after that, when we discussed everything here, just to pay attention, for example, look at sentence number 1 and let's decide what it is.
I have a question here. The student is higher pre-intermediate level. So the student is familiar with past simple and has practiced it quite a lot. The student is familiar with present perfect and has practiced it slightly less than past simple, but still quite familiar. Is it really necessary to focus on how we build the tenses here?
Not how we build, but to read the sentences and to pay attention. This sentence is present perfect, that one is past simple. Pay attention of students.
Okay, yeah. But here we actually don't go deeper. Yes, we just look at it so that the student recognizes which is which. Yes, you're right, Helen. But probably we won't analyze regular, irregular, ED, and so on and so forth. The student is already familiar. Okay, and Helen, you said that you would go with the meaning first, right?
Yeah.
And then focus on the form. How would you do this with this exactly context, with this exactly material?
First stage would be completing these gaps.
Okay.
So I would work with them, I would complete all the gaps, and only then I would move to grammar.
And how would you?
Tasks.
But actually, this is what Maria was supposed to do.
Okay, and I say my opinion. I wouldn't do it.
I'm sorry, then I don't understand what you want to say. You said that you would go with the sentences, yes? You
yes,
would
at first.
complete the gaps, listen, blah, blah, blah. And this is what Maria was planning to do. And after that, you would go to grammar. And this is what Maria did. So what would you change? Would you change anything or not?
No, Maria asked about grammar structure from the very beginning. Oля completed the sentence and they discussed what tense it is. I would just at first discuss all the words and then I would move to structure.
Okay, yes, okay, I accept it and I agree with you that this is better. Okay, anybody else? Do you have any comments? No?
So may I add something?
Yeah, sure.
So if I were a teacher, I would give my students some time to complete. Maybe I guess it's a kind of revision of some vocabulary at the very beginning of this, maybe previous, or maybe the kind of text-based. Maybe after reading like grammar, which is presented with the help of the text, and I would give the students some time to complete these sentences, these gaps. And then I would give the students this situation, for example, unfinished past action, without the sentence, without their example. And the students' task would be to split these sentences according to the rules, without like ready-made answers, because like when they do this, they analyze when they use it, and then you can see that if they understand or don't understand. And if you see that they splitted them like and it was wrong, so now you can ask some CCQs to see if the student understands or not, and scaffold them to make them understand them. And the next one, maybe some form. maybe using short form or I don't know, contractions or negative sentences, if you see that they make sense. And the last, pronunciation, of course, it's necessary to practice it, especially present perfect, especially contraction there. And the last stage, as I've noticed, it was a kind of controlled practice. It was good. Like when you had to complete those sentences. It wasn't one pronunciation, it was practice.
All right. I can see a clear difference between what Maria did and what you, Julia, suggest.
Yeah, it's my vision. I just don't know.
Yes. And what's the main difference between what Maria did and Julia suggests? Everybody can answer. What do you think? What's the main difference?
Student can think more in Julia's variant. He's, how to say, he's free to express his knowledge.
Yes, and Julia has included one element which I highlight at every meeting with every teacher in the school. It's student independence. Like, here's the task, do it, and then we can look at it together. So this is one, but there's one more thing. What did Maria do with this context, this films, or I can't scroll it, with this films, with this history of films? What did Maria do with it during her presentation? Thank you, Maria. There's no answer. My answer would be nothing. That's why you don't know what to say. And what did Julia do, or what would Julia do in this presentation? How would she work with the context?
Just like you did last time, maybe take one text, for example, and then in this text look for different structures you're explaining.
Or not explaining, but do what Julia suggested. Yes, like categorize which is finished action, which is unfinished action, which has the result in present, which is completely finished and no result in present, and blah, blah, blah. But the most important thing is that Julia wanted to work with these sentences from the audio, from the context in which the language actually appeared. And in Maria's presentation, so we worked with this audio, very good. The context is at least present, it's very good. This is a great improvement. But then we leave this context aside and we look at the rules where nothing from this context is present. And then in the student's mind, these two actions are not connected. And we have the context separately, it's something else. We did some listening and then we learn some grammar. It's a separate thing, but it is not so. They are actually connected. And the way Julia did it, the context is inseparable from the grammar. Okay? So
well,
this is...
actually, can I ask what context is? Because actually, I didn't take these sentences from the text. There wasn't a text. Before that task, there was just some listening tasks.
Yes, but listening
tasks and
listening is also like a text. It's just a listening text. That's it. There's a reading text and the listening text. Maybe I could substitute the word text with something else. But, still, it's the context. And then, yeah. You wanted to ask
First of all, I had to prepare this listening task, these listening tasks first, and then give this task number 1, yes?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what to do first.
Yes, my internet is awful. I'm asking just, I wanted to clarify. So first of all, I had to prepare these listening tasks. So my students would listen just some story about films, and then they should do this task. Yes, right?
But you have this text already.
Didn't do it.
You have this text here, you have the sentences. You didn't do what?
I just didn't take these listening tasks before this task because I thought that it would be too long. It will take
Yes, sure. Look. The question is not that. The thing is that after you've listened and worked with this text, you said, let's read the grammar rules. And in these grammar rules, can you show them to us, please? Grammar rules.
Yes.
Just scroll it. Look, we've been here for 6 hours and I haven't eaten, I'm hungry, and I've met the president. Are the sentences from the audio, from the context which we've been working with?
No. Yes, I understand. No, they aren't. They're just some general rules. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, you could have
you could have used the same, but without those sentences, like the same, I don't know, chart, but you could delete those parts of the sentences, and the task of the student is just to match the rules with the sentences above, and that's it. So it will be related to your text, related to your topic, and like grammar in context.
Exactly. So this is like one of the most important things which I noticed. Okay, and one more thing. You said read the grammar rules. Maria said read the grammar rules. And what did Julia suggest doing with the grammar rules?
We should encourage the student to say the rule themselves, like try to, based on what we analyzed, give some questions so that they say it themselves, not to read them.
And even if we give them the formula of this grammar, yes, like unfinished past, finished past, like present result, no present result, still we ask the student to think how it works, to analyze the context, not do it themselves, not do it like ourselves or just read the ready answers. Okay, these are the main things I wanted to comment on. Does anybody have anything to add? Okay, if not, like these are the main things to think about. And Maria, thanks for being brave to start, and thanks for your good example, because in this example we saw actually quite structured work, but with some things which we were able to see like brilliantly. Yeah, like look, this is how it works, and this is like clearly what you need to change to make it wonderful. Okay, good. Who wants to be the next? We have Helen and we have Ola. Tarasola, I'm sorry. It says Tarasola there. Now it will be your name.
Sorry, that's my husband's name.
I see. Okay, so Helen or Ola? Helen, okay. Helen, you will be the next one.
Sure.
And probably it will be Julia who will be working with you, right?
Okay.
Not to, I can't say that Julia is sitting idly today, but still, not prepared students will, not prepared participants will play a part. Okay, good. Helen, you are the teacher. Julia, you are the student. Both please analyze how clear and how smooth the process is. The others please listen and think what and how you would change.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen with you. I told you last time my topic, if you remember. If you don't remember, I won't tell you immediately. Right now, I'll tell you a little bit later. But this grammar is pretty tricky for me to explain. I tried to do my best, but anyway, for me, it's not easy. That's why I hope that you will help me and will comment on my work, what I prepared. So, not to start from the very beginning, I will just introduce what we did with my student before. We read a text. Ladies, I hope you can see my book. Can you see? So we read a text. It was a text about free time, pretty big, and it included information about different nationalities, what they do, what they like doing. Maybe you worked with this text. After the text, there was some work, and we answered these questions. Can you see exercise number 3? We answered these questions. So we know these questions, we have already read them, discussed, and so on. Now we move to grammar. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. It's my preparation. Now I'll open.
No, it's okay.
Can you see it now? Yes, I know that before I closed. So Julia, please have a look at questions number 1 and number 2. And can you read them again, and can you find question words? I'm sorry, I forgot to say that my student is low pre-intermediate. It's just the beginning of pre-intermediate.
I forgot to ask, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Julia, can you look at questions number 1 and number 2? Please find in these 2 questions question words.
Who and what?
Yes, you are right. Tell me now, which question asks to name who does the action?
The first one.
And which question asks for some other information?
The second one.
Yes. In which question do we have auxiliary verb?
The second one.
And in which question don't we have auxiliary verb?
The first.
So, what conclusion can we make?
We don't use auxiliary verbs with question word who.
It's very close. Yes, you are right. And also, I asked you the first question. In which question asks to name who does the action? It was question number
1.
Yes. And in this question, we don't have auxiliary. Yes. So, what conclusion can we make?
We don't use auxiliary verbs if we want to know who does the action.
Okay, yes, you are right. Well done. Now, let's look at other questions from 3 to 8. I want you to look at them, and I want you to find questions where we don't have auxiliaries.
Question 3 and question 8.
Question 3.
And question 6. And question 7.
And?
Just a minute. So it's 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
And one more?
So 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yes, you are right. Well done. So I'm sorry. Okay. And so we can make a conclusion here that only in question 2 we have auxiliary verb. Yes? So when we want to know, when we ask a question about who does the action, we don't use auxiliary verb. Do you know in a sentence, okay, just a second, I'm moving a little bit. Look please at this sentence. Who exercises the most? Greeks exercise the most. Do you know how to call in a sentence this word, Greeks? What is the function of this word?
Subject.
Yes, you are right. So we can make again the final conclusion. If we have a question when we want to ask who does the action, we call these questions subject questions. And when we ask about subject, we don't use auxiliary verb.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So actually, that's it. That is how I would present it.
And then you would move to practice, right?
Yes, we have already read these questions. With real students, we would read them, all of them. Yes,
Yeah,
not
read,
just
train,
numbers.
remember.
Read, train, and then practice, yes.
Okay, so first, Helen, tell us how it went. Tell us about
Julia, it went perfectly. She understood what I wanted. And, but anyway, I'm not sure about choice of words. I'm sure that with real students, it would be harder.
I remember one moment when it was hard with Julia too. Yeah, absolutely. And Julia, after a day, even if I'm a teacher, so it's really sometimes tricky. Yeah, but Julia, what Julia did, she just answered your questions, and there was a difficult moment. What happened? Let's remember. What was it?
I asked a question. Just a second, I will have a look again at my notes. I asked a question in which question? I asked to summarize. We discussed in which questions we don't have auxiliary. We discussed which questions ask to name who does the action. And then I asked Julia to summarize. But of course, construction is not easy for students to remember from the first point.
But the question was who, and that's one was which country, which nationalities is what was like a kind of what. That's why I didn't get it. Like students.
Yes, and students often don't get.
And I remember that Julia did a wonderful thing. According to your questions and to, like, so to speak, as a result of your questions, Julia came to a conclusion that with the question who, you don't need auxiliaries.
To use auxiliary.
Okay, how did this happen? I think that like this is where we can change something radically, and it will help you and your students very much. Julia, you can participate too. You as a student, what would help you not to make this mistake, this wrong conclusion?
It was not about who. It was not about question words. It was more about subject there in the sentences. Because, like, sometimes it's not only about who. Who do you like to spend your time with? So we use auxiliary verbs there. That's why they can confuse afterwards student.
So I agree with Julia. The first and the most important thing here. Just a second. I'll try to experiment. I think I know the origin of this sound. Maria, can I ask you to turn off your microphone for a second, for 2 seconds or 3? Turn it off. Oh, yes, Maria. Yes, Maria, I'm really sorry. I was thinking all the seminar, like what the origin was. There was a sound and it's from your bad connection, and you told us that it will change soon. Now, sorry. If you want to say something, just turn it off. Don't keep silent if you have something to say, but yeah, hooray, I found it. Okay. So back to questions to the subject and questions to the object. As Julia said, yes, you like the best thing, the most important thing is to clarify which is which and to teach the student to understand. And only after that, it will be easy to look at the difference, at the structural difference between them.
So the first step should be to analyze just a sentence and just to take a normal sentence, positive, and to find in them subjects and objects.
If your student can't do that, perhaps yes. Look at the answer. If your student knows, as Julia did, right? If your student knows where the subject and the object is, you can go ahead to the difference between the questions, and then say, is this question like, is the subject known here or not? And Julia would see, and if Julia doesn't understand, then you would say, is it clear who does the action in this question? No, it's a question to the subject. And in the next question, in the contrasting question, I mean contrasting like a different type, you would ask, is this question to the subject or not? Or do you know who does the action? And Julia would say no, and then Julia would probably say, right? And then you would go to this auxiliaries and not auxiliaries. Anybody else? Any comments about how we can change it? Maybe you noticed something else.
No, can I say?
Sure.
I think that there was one more misleading thing, so to say. For example, as with the question of is in the second question, if I'm not mistaken, you know, it is also actually an auxiliary verb. So it can be, of course, not only the auxiliary verb, but we know it, and it can be a little bit misleading because the first question was, is there an auxiliary verb? So, but some students, they already know that to be can be an auxiliary verb.
And it actually is an auxiliary verb.
Yes, okay. Well, I agree with all that have been already said. And I liked Helen's idea that she actually challenged the student to find out the truth by herself, but of course it's really hard to do, and maybe yes, it will be a good idea to start with this presentation of where is the subject, do we know who does the action here or no, do we know what thing we are looking for or no, maybe this one. Plus the main idea is that in every of these sentences we didn't have any auxiliary verbs, and it could have been stressed also in the beginning. No, by the student, of course.
We didn't have, and is actually an auxiliary verb.
No, в принципе, да. Yes, I agree. And this is misleading for this exercise.
They don't know like these words, especially low-level students, like auxiliary verbs, subjects. It's really sometimes.
If you teach them, they will. Like, if I know that soon I'm going to present these terrible questions to the subject, they are really like one of the most difficult like grammar items to present, but if I know that I'm going to do that, I will probably teach them a little bit earlier or at the beginning of this lesson. I'll tell them. And knowing about auxiliary verbs or assistant verbs to make it easier is a good tool in your grammar explanation. So I wouldn't go too deep into the term, but I would explain a couple of them. All right, more comments. Okay, I have a couple of comments. So, Helen, some people here said that these questions were not clear and some of them were misleading, right? What kind of sentences could you contrast here? So, for example, you've already analyzed with your students, yes, that all the questions in this set are questions to the subject, except for the second one. Right? So you've clarified it. And then about this auxiliary verbs or no auxiliary verbs, what kind of sentences could you contrast? Everybody can take part here.
Actually, the special questions with the auxiliary verbs. Maybe.
For
example, what did you eat for breakfast today?
And what ate you? Yes, or who ate you? Do you see where I'm leading?
Okay. You mean to say that two examples? Well, when we see the doer of the action, and.
Two examples with who?
I would do this, yes, first.
I don't know.
Let's think about these two examples.
Maybe who did you see in the morning? Who saw you in the morning?
Yes. This is a classical
Students
one from
will
Olga.
understand, really.
Yes.
They won't get confused after these two sentences.
Look, you've already clarified with them that there are questions where you know who did the action, and there are questions where you don't know that. And they already know that there is something there.
So it's after. Important. At first we clarified it, we discussed auxiliary, presence, absence, and then we
No, vice versa. In the questions you presented, like most of them were questions to the subject. So and the only one which wasn't a question to the subject contained is, and what to do here. But if you contrast two similar questions, like with the same vocabulary but different grammar, and then with these questions, you may take one of these questions from this list, yes, and change it so it was so that one was question to the subject and the other to the object, and then say, in this question, is there a question to the? Do we know who does the action or who does the action? No, we don't. And in the next question, do we know? Yes. Let's look at the difference with grammar. The first one, does it have an auxiliary? No. And the second, does it have an auxiliary? And then, yes, when you've asked this all, who makes the conclusions about the structure?
The student.
The student. And in your presentation, who made the conclusions?
I don't remember, but I
Julia,
like make conclusions.
Okay.
The first conclusion partly was made by me because something like, but in the end, Helen just concluded everything to be sure that I have understood, but it would be better to ask some CCQs again. But there were some concept checking questions.
Yes, sure.
After some examples, so I answered them, and but to conclude, we always like about teachers talking time. We always want to tell them everything, just to show.
Yes, I actually I haven't found my way to this when working with teachers. I keep telling things. I will later, or maybe someone will teach me. No one has done it yet. But so now I tell you a lot. But I'm trying. I'm working. I'm trying. And what Julia said is totally true. Helen has worked hard on her CCQs, yes, she really tried. Then, when she saw that the student is a little bit confused, she decided to summarize it all to make it clear to the student, right? But in fact, if the questions are clear and if the sentences are really contrasting and clearly demonstrate the difference, you won't need to do that. Your student will tell you yourself. So this is like an indicator. If your student can't summarize it, this means that something's wrong with your question.
Okay, sure.
Okay. And just the last comment. When I was studying, one of the most penalized questions to the students was, is that clear?
Absolutely. They always say that everything is clear. Yeah.
Yes. So
they never say no.
Well, they do sometimes, and I love those students who do. But most of them will say, "Yes, it's clear." And then, luckily, we do some practice after that, and we see that, well, they actually didn't understand it. So don't forget to do the practice too. And then the production, where you finally see whether you've whether they've really got to the point and they've really learned to use this grammar. Oля, Unfortunately, you didn't have a chance to show us your presentation today. Well, how do you feel about it?
It's okay. I'm feeling a bit sick today, so maybe it's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure if you really wanted to present and to try it out, you would volunteer, right? Yes, it's a pity that we didn't have a chance to see one more teacher working. Yes, these seminars are organized also to look at each other and to learn from each other, right? But well, maybe next time, and
next time I will.
Yes, and I hope that everybody has learned today. Well, this topic is never ending. Like, presenting the target language can never be perfect. Well, it can, but well, you can always do it better or in a new way. And your job as teachers is to look at yourself, to look at how it went with your student, and after each student, ask yourself, did my CCQs work well? Was the flow, the order of my questions logical? Was it clear to the student? Who made the conclusion? Was it easy to the student to make this conclusion? Did I ask the question, is it clear? For example, right? So it's your job, and if you ask yourself such questions every time, you will improve with every lesson. And I hope to see your improved presentations in the next lessons you send me. Okay? So thank you very much, and
thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the next seminar we are planning will be on reading, if no other urgent questions arise. Okay?
Reading?
Yes, reading, the reading format. I've seen different things which we need to talk about, like with everybody, not only with separate people. Okay?
Yeah.
So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.